Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I hope you're doing well. We have our holiday decorations. Sorry, MAGA, I said it that way. Up, and it's very cozy in here. I have a blankie now, so it feels very Christmassy, which is nice. Let's start with a couple Mike Johnson related things. He got he got coal in his stocking from Trump, I guess you could say, which is that Trump pardoned. Now, follow me through this because it's kind of interesting how this all pieced together. And then I'll show you Mike Johnson getting confronted on something different. And you'll never guess what his reaction was. You'll never guess what his out was. But first, Henry Cuellar is a Democratic congressman in a Texas battleground district that Republicans were really trying to flip in the midterms. But Henry Cuellar had been indicted for, I'll show you in a second, bribery, I think. Let's actually get that information, then I'll tell you how Mike Johnson just got totally screwed over by Trump. In 2024, Cuellar and his wife were charged with accepting nearly $600,000 in bribes from two foreign entities in an alleged scheme that took place from late 2014 through at least November 2021, according to the indictment. Cuellar has denied any wrongdoing by him and his wife, and I guess Jeffries is also standing by him on this. So, anyways, do you remember back whenever MAGA would go, Biden is weaponizing the DOJ against Republicans and only Republicans? And then we would go, wait, what? Yeah, sure, Trump's being prosecuted, but Biden wasn't involved in that. But you also have federal prosecutions against a Democratic congressman, Cuellar, and a Democratic senator, Bob Menendez, I think also for bribery. What's all this bribery business? No one's ever even offering to bribe me. And then other people. Hunter Biden obviously got prosecuted, then pardoned by Biden. Whoops. And so that kind of flew in the face of that argument that you had these prominent Democrats. Bob Menendez, a really powerful Democratic senator, and Democrats in the Senate weren't really standing by Menendez in that case. Well, here you have Cuellar now being pardoned by Trump. And I'll show you what Mike Johnson's reaction was in a second, but here's what's weird. Why is Trump pardoning him? I'm just guessing. But number one, Trump believes anyone who was prosecuted during Biden. Very frequently, Trump just automatically is on their side. You had Eric Adams as another example, the Democratic mayor at the time of New York City. And Trump pardoned him. And there seemed to be a little bit more of a deal going on there. Cuellar is saying, there's no deal here. I'm still a Democrat. I'm running for re-election as a Democrat. And Trump still pardoned him. I think it's because Trump's thinking $600K. I'm out here making billions in my position. What are you getting on this? Tom Homan got $50K in a bag. What are we getting on to Cuellar's case for? He's thinking 2014 through 2021. That's like barely any money per year. Honestly, I think that's what Trump's thinking. He keeps pardoning white collar criminals because he doesn't really think that's bad crime. And he's thinking, okay, people gave you hundreds of thousands of dollars, allegedly, to represent their interests. And I'm constantly having people pay me way more than that. And then I'm giving them perks for it. So how can I get on your case? Honestly, I think that's where his head's at. But here's where Mike Johnson comes into it. While I tell you, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show. Millions of people watch the show every month who aren't subscribed. By clicking it, you make a little dent in that figure, but then also help to get the word out about the show. Mike Johnson apparently was not consulted on this because this could end up being one of the moves that confirms a Democratic majority in the midterms, with Mike Johnson is desperately trying to prevent. President Trump didn't tell Speaker Mike Johnson, according to Axios, that he was granting a full and unconditional pardon to Henry Cuellar before announcing it on Truth Social this morning. Trump's pardon boosts one of House Republicans' top political targets. What? So this is an emotionally confusing thing for me because I'm thinking law and order. Let this case play out. But at the same time, this is gonna backfire really badly, it appears, for Republicans, and could hamper GOP efforts continuing to protect their razor-thin majority in next year's midterms. You have Marjorie resigning. You have Troy Nehls retiring. You already have a brutal landscape for Republicans because of the swing that we're seeing in Democrats' direction in some of these special elections. And now you have this, Trump protecting one of the top political targets of Republicans. I didn't know anything about it, Johnson told Axios. Asked if he was surprised by Trump's pardon. He said, I think he had talked about that since last spring. It shouldn't be a huge surprise to anyone, but no, I didn't discuss it with him. Wow. And then here's what's fascinating. Republicans have been already laying the groundwork to run against Cuellar, understandably, on this topic, which makes it a lot tougher. Like you had noted in this article, the NRCC on November 23rd blasted Democrats over Cuellar's legal troubles. Imagine you're the NRCC, you're putting together campaign material to say House Democrats, including leader Hakeem Jeffries, are still bankrolling criminally charged Texas Democrat Henry Cuellar, and then Trump pardons him. That really deflates your argument a little bit. Now, again, I don't think this pardon makes any sense. I do think Trump just goes, what? You can't get onto people for that. Maybe in the case of Menendez, in the other one, it was like gold bars. That's a little overt. But what's a gold bar compared to billions in meme coin? It's cute, actually, to Trump. So this fits into what we talked about yesterday with Trump not seeing especially powerful people as people who should be held accountable legally, including himself. But now he just totally screwed over Mike Johnson and gave a boost to one of the top targets there for Republicans. And then he didn't know about that. He was shocked about that. Then, speaking of pardons, Mike Johnson got asked about the pardon of the former Honduran president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who had engaged in massive drug trafficking, which we're led to believe is a top concern of Trump's, and that's why he's illegally striking boats. But then he's pardoning a guy who was a notorious drug trafficker and said it was because it was a Biden witch hunt, which is also what he's saying with the Cuellar example. So just to keep your figure straight, Trump wants us to believe that Joe Biden was targeting his political opponents, and it included Trump. Okay, that could make sense if you had evidence of it. Henry Cuellar, a Democrat. Okay. Eric Adams, a Democrat at the time. What? Hunter Biden gets prosecuted. Okay, this is getting weird. Bob Menendez, a Democrat. What? And then, of course, high up on that list is Juan Orlando Hernandez, one of Biden's top political opponents. So it's confusing. What's more confusing is Mike Johnson saying, oh, did Trump pardon him? I don't know anything about it. Again.
Pardon the former president of Honduras who's been convicted of major drug crimes, big drug trafficking. Are you okay with that?
I don't know anything about that president. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it. I haven't read into it yet.
He was
Peter,
charged
this morning,
45 years he was charged with major crimes.
The president has the ability to advocate on behalf of anyone he wants. It's not really my issue.
This morning, the Energy and Commerce Committee held.
Okay, just please, can everyone remember when they go, I don't know anything about that. Number one, someone needs to get the news app on Mike Johnson's phone because he never knows about any news. I showed you the compilation yesterday. It's always, I don't know, didn't hear about that. Did Trump say that? I didn't hear about it. Sorry, I've been busy. And that's number one. Number two, they always justify Trump's pardons by saying, well, Trump has pardon authority. Or Trump will justify maybe potential pardons, like when he gets asked about Ghislaine Maxwell, and the first words out of his mouth are, well, I would be able to. I have the power to. Just keep in mind, number one, that's insane with someone like Ghislaine Maxwell. But also, was that ever their response whenever they were taking issue with Biden pardons? Was the response ever, well, Biden does have the authority? None of us are arguing over if Trump has the legal authority to pardon certain people. Now, when he's pardoning people after they funneled money to his businesses, now you have a little bit of legal problems there. But just does he have pardon authority? Of course he does. And we also have the authority to use our free speech. You're trying to take away our free speech to criticize it. So I'm asking you, what do you feel about the pardon? Not does he have the power, because if you're saying I can't criticize it because he has the power, well, then you need to go revoke all of your criticism of Biden's pardons every time he pardoned anyone, including Hunter Biden. Your response should have been, I have no place to disagree with the president and his absolute authority to pardon. I have no place to criticize that he pardoned whoever. Those Democrats that he was worried Trump would target, and then Trump ended up targeting a lot of them. But that was never the response then. Now it's just, I don't know, he has the authority. You did have this Tennessee special election to give you a sense of why these decisions by Trump, like pardoning Cuellar, could actually make a difference. I'd hate if that specifically made the difference. But more so, there's this huge swing that Mike Johnson's panicking about. Even in the Tennessee special election last night where the Republican won, you still had like a 10-point plus swing in the Democrats' direction from the margin that Trump won in. For this even to have been a conversation when Trump won this district by 22 points is a sign. And there's lots of districts that a 10-point swing would be the Democrat would win and not just narrow the margin. And so that's kind of the context of Johnson's panic. Then you have the Democrat here giving her concession speech.
And tonight, because I believe in Southern hospitality, I called the Congressman-elect, Matt Van Epps, and I had one question for him. What will define what happens next? Do not let the Affordable Care Act subsidies expire. Do not raise healthcare costs for working families in Tennessee. And tonight...
That's an interesting move in a concession speech to say, I'm conceding, I called my opponent, but I also told him, here's an issue that we're going to be watching you on. I don't hear them do that very frequently. I like it. I do like it. Meanwhile, Trump was in the Oval Office and Trump announces new fuel economy standards. I think getting rid of them is probably what it was. So watch this interaction though with Marsha Blackburn. This is so weird. I don't know why he does these press conferences. In the cabinet meeting, we'll circle back in a second, he's falling asleep. He clearly doesn't get that titillated by the rounds of people who go in and say, Trump, you're the best, we love you. But maybe he thinks he has to do it for the cameras, and then it's just so cringe. Watch him, just watch.
Or Nissan or VW or Toyota with the engine plant, what you see is the components that are necessary to build these cars and removing these standards and making cars more affordable.
That's such an awkward dynamic. So he goes and he sits in his Oval Office chair and he gets everyone to circle around him and say why he's great and why the decision, whatever it is that he's making, is spectacular. And so then he's listening to Marsha Blackburn, but then she looks to talk at him and he just refuses to make eye contact. I don't understand. I do not understand what's happening there. You then have this.
It says you have to look at combustion engines. Biden and Buttigieg actually did an analysis using... Edge, that's right. Edge. It says you...
And anytime he says anything like that, everyone is obligated. Otherwise, they're going to be thrown... they're going to be thrown in a gulag to laugh really hard. Yeah. Watch this.
For the auto manufacturers, people aren't even going to believe the impact this has. You know, Mike used to come to my rallies all the time, and we'd have a rally, and it was like 0 degrees, it was freezing everywhere, and he'd sit there without a shirt on. And I didn't need that, you know. I didn't say it was pretty, but he would sit there in the cold, and he didn't mind it at all. I said, that's one tough cookie, right? You lit it up.
Guys. You heard Tucker Carlson's laugh? Play that one more time, if you will. I, for some reason, saw this clip on my feed, and then we'll get back to the Trump thing. Milo Yiannopoulos. Y'all remember Milo Yiannopoulos? Probably, whatever. He's just been, I don't know what he's been doing, but he's been somewhere, and this clip popped up on the Tucker Carlson podcast.
I have to be honest with you. I bear some responsibility.
He's gone. Podcast listeners, his eyes are fully crossed. He usually wears glasses because of, I guess, drug use, which, you know, we don't judge if there's a problem there. But he He usually wears glasses even in the dead of night, even in a bar when he's confronting me randomly when I spot him. We randomly walked into a bar and he was there, and he was as zoinked. And he said, why did I forget? He was confronting me about something he was upset about that I had said. Probably I said something very reasonable. That my recollection was I was very reasonable and he was very irritated. But I just remember being struck by, like, you're not going to remember this conversation. You're gone. You're gone. Put your glasses back on.
I have to be honest with you. I bear some responsibility for this, because it was me 10 years ago mainstreaming homosexuality into the Republican Party. Is the great regret of my life, more so than anything I've done to my own soul, which is a lot. It's the great regret of my life, because it has given rise to horrors I never imagined. I mean, say Lenin said, all revolutionaries come to hate their children. Well, the gay horrors that I've given birth to, Lady Marga, Nick Fuentes, I mean, keep me up at night. They keep me up at night.
Nick Fuentes. Just slipping in Nick Fuentes there. Yeah, so if y'all don't know him, I just found that because of the laugh, it made me think of that clip. If y'all don't know about his whole deal, he was a prominent right-wing influencer and was gay, is gay, but then did a whole I'm ungaying. He calls himself ex-gay now. And he'll go on these, he'll go on these long rambles about how he's trying to fight through the pain of forcing himself to be attracted to women. And he prominently threw his ring of his engagement. I'm not gay anymore. And it's like, not even, you would think someone would do that. Number one, ridiculous. Just be you, boo. But you would also think that it would have worked to keep him relevant. Like, I'm the guy who proves you can ungay. See, right wing, love me. But still he fell off. He just fell off so badly. You literally did this whole I'm ungaying arc to please MAGA, and none of them even listened or cared. So that's sad. It's sad. Moving forward, here is Jessica Tarlov talking about the war crime that was committed by the Trump administration.
Well, it's a war crime, and we didn't play any Republicans, but there were plenty of them that have been talking about, like John Yoo, who was the architect of the Bush 9/11 response, was talking about this as well, that if there are people who are shipwrecked, which is what these two survivors were.
Survivors?
They survived the first strike.
Jessica. They're not survivors.
Okay.
They're victims.
Go
ahead, I'm sorry.
That's how the DOD manual says that you have to do it, that you have to take them, you should send a helicopter to get them out of there, and then you try them. Or international law also says that as well. You could play Roger Wicker talking about it, Senator Tom Tillis, Mike Turner. These are all Republicans saying it. So the narrative that this is about the left getting all hot and bothered about another hoax is absolutely ludicrous.
Can I just ask you one question?
No, you can't, actually. You already asked me a question. No, I insist
What happens if we hit a terrorist and the terrorist survives? We're supposed to send a helicopter to rescue him and then give him first aid?
We know that this isn't a hoax,
yes
because the best case scenario is that Admiral Bradley, who they're trying to put all the blame on, is the one who authorized the second lethal strike that took out.
So that's a big part of this, is if it's true the Trump administration has no guilt about, at least of what they've made public, very little information striking a boat, then the military objective is complete, and now you just have people floating on wreckage in the water, and then you circle back to just specifically kill them with presumably no military objective, even if we accepted your bogus premise that you had one in the first place. If it really were something you had no guilt about, why, or that the Trump administration had no guilt about, why are they trying to shift blame so frantically? And it went from this is fake to maybe it happened, but it was all good, to all right, it happened, but it definitely wasn't our fault. It was Admiral Bradley. But like, we stand by him, but like it was definitely him. And then Hegseth goes on to give us a play-by-play of how he was in the room for the first strike, we're supposed to believe, and then went, shoot, I have I got something, and left right before the second strike. He wanted us to know he has no guilt about it. And he was on Fox News bragging about how I watched that strike go down. But then it becomes clear the illegality of what happened. And he goes, actually, I did say that I watched the strike live, but there was just a lot of things going on at the time. And so I left for the part you're talking. For the really bad part, I was gone. Like, why would he specify that so specifically if he didn't understand exactly what was wrong here? Why would Trump, in clips like this, not just go, yeah, we did it and we'll keep doing it?
So to be clear, you support the decision to kill survivors after the
No, I support the decision to knock out the boats. And whoever's piloting those boats, most of them are gone. But whoever are piloting those boats, they're guilty of trying to kill people in our country. Yeah, please.
So even he's going, no, I'm not. And at different points he went, I don't think Pete would have done that. But then you have people like Chris Cuomo, and this really confuses me. Because Chris Cuomo's not MAGA at all. But he said, why don't they care as much about dead National Guard members or a dead National Guard member as they do alleged drug dealers? And it's like, okay, let me explain something really basic to you. First of all, any person does have deep and profound pain about the murder of a National Guard member. And there's actually a lot, the investigations so far yielding information that doesn't really fit into the narrative that MAGA ran with immediately about what the motivation was. But we'll circle back to that when we get more clear information on it. But there is deep pain and deep care. And if you understand anything about political debates, there has to be a disagreement for shows like this that are debating. And so there's a disagreement about the morality of these Venezuelan boat strikes. There shouldn't be a disagreement about the morality of slaughtering a National Guard member. So what's the and she responded, that was your takeaway? Also, we discussed the DC shooting in another segment that day where I argued we needed new vetting standards without denaturalizing American citizens. So it was talked about. She does care about it. And the reason this is going to get a lot more of a news cycle is because it's not a clear cut. Everyone goes, that's horrible. What's the punditry going to be? It's just horrible. But when you have something where they're going, we stand by the war crime on a different topic, now there's actually a big disagreement. And that's why it's going to spark so much more airtime. And it just is bizarre. And we don't actually know. We really do not know if the people that they're saying that the identification of who these people are is correct at all. We don't know that. You have CBS News reporting family of Colombian fishermen killed in U.S. boat strike files complaint alleging murder and alleging that it was just a fisherman. The family of a Colombian man who was killed in a U.S. military strike on a boat in the Caribbean has lodged a complaint against the United States with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, saying that he is not who they are claiming him to be and that it was murder. Family members of victims' governments insist some of those killed were fishermen, and rights groups say the strikes are illegal even if the target were in fact drug traffickers. So you can't just buy the state narrative because they're saying it. And even if it were who they're saying that it was, as I explained yesterday, what on earth would be the benefit of not detaining these people if you know exactly where they are? Because then you actually could go up the food chain of more and more influential people to get to the root of a drug trafficking operation. Makes clear when they really, really don't want survivors that maybe it's because they really, really don't want to find out that they are being very careless about this. And they won't contend with the fact that our fentanyl problem is not a Venezuela problem. None of them will answer to that.